Hello and welcome back to my channel, The Midwife Life. So today's video, as you can probably tell from the title, is going to be me talking to you all about my first ever placement shift. It is very hot right now. So my first ever placement block was back in December. So I think I started on the 2nd of December was my first shift, and I was in the community. So what community midwives do is they do things like antenatal clinics, so they might go to like a doctor's surgery and women will come in for their checkups, so things like taking her blood pressure, checking the baby's heart rate, symphysis fundal height, CO monitoring, so you just check their carbon monoxide levels and just checking them generally, making sure they're okay in themselves, they're feeling okay, mood, all of that kind of good stuff. Yeah, they get bloods taken a few times as well. Okay, so brilliant. What else do they do? So yeah, you've got antenatal appointments, some do like parent class, antenatal classes, postnatal visits, so after the baby's been born, when the family are back home, the midwives will go and see them at home. But on their primary day home, so the primary visit, so when they're first discharged from the hospital, on day 3, we tend, I don't know where I was, we went on day 3, and then day 5, which is when you weigh a breastfed baby, and then day 10 for discharge is the minimum that you need to, that you see women and for their postnatal visits. But in community you are on your midwives books up to day 28, or this is me talking as from my perspective on where I was placed and where I go to uni. It might differ, I don't know. However, on day 10 is normally where you have a community discharge, where you hand over the family to the health visitor. And they also have, on the odd occasion, home births. I have not seen one yet. Gutted, I would love to see a home birth. But yeah, they do occasionally have them if women opt to have a home birth then. Community midwives would be on call. So my first shift, it was a bit all over the place, I'm not gonna lie. It was really, really good and I did really, really enjoy it. But it was a bit all over the place because the placement where I was going, the placement area, I didn't really understand or didn't really know who was going where, which student was going with which midwife. It was all sorted in the end, it was fine. But yeah, it does take a couple of days, a couple of shifts for you to get into the swing of things and for you to kind of know your place, if that makes sense. I ended up having a really, really great shift, and the midwife that I was with, he bought me a nice hot chocolate. Love that man. Yeah, no, it was really, really good. We did an antenatal clinic in the morning, which I was doing things like blood pressure. I'd do the blood pressure and then he'd check the blood pressure. And I was a few off. Yeah, it took me a while to get used to blood pressure. I actually ended up taking my own stethoscope in. I think it was a week in, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to take it in this time. I need to use it, I need to break it in. And from then, blood pressure, aced it. I was just finding it really, really hard to hear through the stethoscopes that they had. Personally, I don't know, it's personal preference, whatever you find easiest. But I ended up taking my Litman in, and yeah, from then on I can now do blood pressure. But yeah, my first shift was really, really good, and then we had a couple of postnatal visits. It did take me a while for me not to feel awkward. I think for the first few days I kind of stood there and I was a bit like, don't really know what to say, don't really know what to do. Do I just sit here and watch? What do I do? But then you do find, like I said, you find your place and you find where you fit in, and you get to know where the women like you to be, if that makes sense, and how involved they like you to be and how involved your midwife also likes you to be, because different midwives do different things. But yeah, they do try and get you involved as much as possible, which is good. Well, they did where I was. So yeah, that was my first shift. There's not a lot to tell you about my first shift, but it was really good. So in terms of things that you take in your little bag, I had a little bag with me. the first shift I took way too much because I didn't know what to expect, obviously. So this is the purpose of this video, is to kind of explain to you a bit about what to expect and what is a necessity to take with you, and what I took that I just did not need at all. I definitely recommend having breakfast before you leave. I know, because I'm the same, I know for some people it's really hard to get up and have breakfast. You're not hungry first thing, but I do really recommend having it because you don't get many chances to eat, or I didn't anyway. So what to put in your bag, snacks. Like I said, you don't get a lot of time to eat, so any chance you do have time to eat, have a little bit of a snack, whether that's like a breakfast bar or a piece of fruit, anything. Just take a couple of snacks, because I personally cannot go from 8 o'clock or 7:30 whenever I have my breakfast to whenever I get a chance to break, which sometimes it was as late as 3 o'clock, 3:30. It'd be that busy during the day that I just did not have a chance to eat before then. So definitely have a couple of snacks with you in your bag, and you can just eat them in like the car journey from one house to another, or in between patients at your clinic, things like that. You can just quickly have a little bit of a nibble, or have a little bit of half your bar or whatever, and it just settles your stomach from rumbling a little bit, because it is quite embarrassing. I speak from personal experience. You're in the middle of a clinic, you're in the middle of like a woman's appointment, or you're at somebody's house and your tummy rumbles. And I don't know about you, but my tummy rumbling is rather loud. And still on the subject of food, obviously I love food. Lunch. Take a packed lunch with you, because some midwives stop. I don't know whether they're supposed to, don't know, but some midwives do stop at shop to buy a meal deal, and occasionally I did do that, to be fair. Occasionally I did stop and go in with them, but the majority of the time I did take a packed lunch, whether that's leftovers from the night before, like dinners the night before, or a meal deal that I'd bought on the way home or on the way to a shift, or anything. Like homemade packed lunch obviously is good too. So that's the food done. Drink, of course, take a bottle of drink. And then in terms of everything else, so moving on from food and drink, my favourite subject is things like paperwork. So you'll get, from your university, you should get 2 books, or this is how it works at my university. I don't know how it works for other universities, but you should get 2 books. One that you keep for the full 3 years, and one that you keep for just your first year, and you get a new one each year. So in the one that you keep for all the 3 years that you're at university, has things like competencies in, and you have to get them signed off. You have to meet those and achieve those to pass. And there are certain ones that you have to meet in year 1, there are certain ones that you have to meet in year 2, there are certain ones you have to meet in year 3, but there are others that you can meet whenever in the 3 years. Like, it doesn't matter when you achieve it, as long as you achieve it by the end of the 3 years. So take that book with you. That's important, because any chance that you get, if you have a spare hour with your midwife or your practice supervisor or assessor, you can get them ticked off. You can go through and think, oh, I've achieved that today, yeah, I'll sign that off. And then the other book, the one that you keep for just that you get a new one each year, has your timesheets in. So you need, and your hours sheets, so you need to get them signed for the hours that you do. So at the end of each shift, you can go to your assessor, you can go to whoever you've been with that day and get them to sign off and to say that yes, that you have done those hours. So that's very important that you do that. And it also has things like your interviews in. So each placement block, you have to have 3 interviews. You have to have your initial interview, so it should be your first day. It doesn't always happen like that, because I know my first day was quite busy and it just wasn't really what we were thinking of. So yeah, within the first few days I try and get the initial interview done. And then you have like the middle interview, I can't remember what they call it, preliminary, something like that, I can't say it, but and that's just to check up on how you're getting on, what to improve on for the next few weeks until your final interview, which should happen in your last few days, ideally the last day. But obviously, like I said, very busy career, people are very busy, so whenever you get the chance to, try and get your interviews done. But yeah, that's in your other book as well, so you'll need to take them with you each shift. And then I also took work with me. Personally, where I was, there was a few days where I knew I was going to be sat for a little bit because it just wasn't going to be a busy day, or I knew I was going to have like an hour where I'd just be sat doing nothing. Yeah, so I did take my laptop with me, and any chance that I got, if I knew that I was going to be sat for an hour, or if I was just sat for an hour, it turned out that we had a big break in between postnatal visits and at a clinic or whatever it might be, you can sit and get a little bit of uni work done. And I think that's about everything that I took. Like I said, I took my stethoscope with me, but that's not a necessity, you don't need to do that. I also did take a reading book with me on the first couple of shifts, and then I thought, no, Karis, we're not going to read. If I do get enough time where I can read, I'll just do uni work. Obviously your phone as well. So that's pretty much everything that you need to take, all the necessities. If I missed anything and you think of something, please leave it in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys next week. Bye.